Hello, Kizomba friends, and welcome back to the Kizomba Conversations podcast. If you're listening on Spotify or another podcast app, don't forget you can also watch our guests in action on our YouTube channel at Kizomba Conversations. We hope you enjoy the episode. Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back to another episode of Kizomba Conversations. As always, I'm your host, Victor. Today, we have a special co-host. We have Adel joining me to interview and have a conversation with a super DJ. Now, when I say super DJ, this particular DJ has been DJing for not 10, not 20, but 30 years experience in the game. This man is a beast, lots of knowledge, and let's welcome him to the Kizomba Conversations podcast. Hello, Mr. DJ Guelas. How are you doing, sir?
Hello. Thank you. I am well. Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. You making me sound old right now, but that's okay. Glad to be
I
here.
apologize. It's more about your wealth of knowledge.
Absolutely. Yes. I started DJing when I was 1. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, there you go. Of course, man. Of course. No, seriously, listen, welcome to the podcast. We're really excited about having you here because, like I said, you have a wealth of knowledge around Kizomba, around music in general. And I really think that people are going to really value this conversation in terms of what you bring, in terms of what Kizomba is and where it's been and where it's going. So we really thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely. So listen,
pleasure
let's
to be
get
here,
into
and thank
it.
you for inviting me. Yeah.
100%. So let's get straight into it, right? I want to jump straight into the first question with you. We all start with our guests. We get to know their background. So tell us, who is DJ Guelas? Tell us a little bit about you.
All right. So I'm of Cape Verdean descendancy. My parents are both from the Cabo Verde Islands. That just celebrated 50 years of independence a couple of days ago.
Yes, so, congratulations to that.
Yes. And I was born and raised in Lisbon, Portugal. I was there until I was 18. I moved to the States, to the U.S. Right after that, I've been here for a long time now. And it's been quite a ride and quite a journey. And I still go back often to Portugal and Cape Verde, less often, but yeah, that's my background. And that's what we hear.
So when was the last time you were in Cape Verde?
I was there 3 years ago. I went to see my dad. I went to surprise my dad because he was there. My dad is retired. He's in between Cape Verde and Lisbon, and it was his birthday, so I went to surprise him for his birthday. So that's the last time I was there, just hanging out.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And then you mentioned the independence. So yes. This weekend just gone, were you partying? Talking to your parents, everything. How did that go?
I actually did. I came from Lisbon on Friday. I went almost immediately to Washington, D.C. to also partake in some celebrations for the independence. I was invited to an event with the ambassador, and it was just a good time being there with fellow Cape Verdeans and celebrating, and it was good to be there.
See, this is what I'm talking about, right? When I say experience, an event with the ambassador, just rolls off his tongue. Yeah, just these little things. But it's all good, man. It's all good. Okay. No, thank you for that. Thank you for that intro. So that's great. And all right. In terms of music, then, yeah, what is the first memory you have of music really moving you? So not just hearing it, but really feeling it. What's the first memory of that?
I have a very vivid memory of that, actually. I was young. I was 3 or 4, maybe. And I was actually in Cape Verde at my grandmother's house. And my uncle, who was visiting from the U.S., he was playing some music. And he was actually playing Kool in the Gang. And I remember just dancing in the middle of the living room. That's I think the first vivid memory that I have of music moving me, and almost inexplicably, my body just started moving. I'm not claiming that I know how to dance. However, it did move me, and that's a vivid memory that I have, and a very fond memory that I have of that time.
Fantastic. So Cool and the Gang.
Cool
So
in the gang.
you just started dancing to that?
Yeah, I just started moving, and it's amazing how I still have that memory, and it just popped up as soon as you asked that question. But it's something that every now and then I think about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, that's great. It's great to share those memories. So you mentioned that you're from Cape Verde,
Yeah.
and obviously from Portugal as well. You know, you live in Portugal. So how have those two cultures shaped your music and your approach to DJing?
Um, Deeply. Portugal, because it formed a very distinct identity as far as growing up. Of course, at home, between my parents, I heard everything between Coladeira, Kizomba, Zouk, um, Marna from Cape Verde Islands as well. From my mom's side, she loved that. She introduced me to Kassav, even though at the time I wasn't really a fan. Oh, this here we go with this music again. Uh, but funny how later that served me very well. And from my dad, more jazz uh, musicals from the US. My dad was very much into that. So I had those at home. As far as growing up with friends and all that, due to the neighborhood where I lived, they listened to a lot of rock, a lot of um, in the 80s, soft rock, all of the ballads, all of those groups, all of also funk, also R&B. I was shaped by all of those rhythms, right? Cape Verde, Cape Verde, because of all of its music, all of its the influences that you know came to the archipelago. Cape Verde is a land of both a lot of immigrants due to the country's lack of resources, had to immigrate to search for a better living. But also, it was like a midpoint in the Atlantic for a long time for shipping routes that stopped for to get fuel, to get a lot of other things. So they had a lot of influences from both the seamen that went through the archipelago and from both the immigrants that went outside of the country and came back on vacation and brought music and brought a lot of different things. So in that sense, Cape Verde was in the middle of this storm of influences from places from all over the world. So in that sense, I think that also um, a variety of music was instilled just because when I used to go on vacation, there was a lot of different music that was played out there.
Yeah, no, that is great. That is great. And lots to pick up on there, but what I want to find out from you there actually, because you know your musical experience is vast, right? And you know you talked about Cool and the Gang there, and that moved you. So because we're talking about Kizomba, I just want to find out when did Kizomba move you, or when did you hear Kizomba in its fullest, or the first time, and you thought, "Hey, this is this is great."
Um, I started I started being more exposed as far as going to clubs with friends, probably about 17, 18 years old before I moved to the States. Just going and hanging out, just because at the same time I also thought that rock and all that didn't move me as much, although sympathize with it, but I couldn't really identify with it. If I hear a song today by Scorpions or whatever, still like brings me back memories. But something that moved me to the core, I started feeling when I used to go out to the African clubs in Portugal with a good friend of
Yeah.
mine when I was 17, 18. And that's when it started really kind of piquing some interest besides the music that my mom was also exposing me to. Um, but I was 17, 18 years old when I started going out to clubs in Lisbon. And not too long after that, I moved to the US. But I was still very much into hip hop and R&B at the time. Uh,
Mhm.
Little did I know that Kizomba and all of those rhythms would have such an impact on me later.
Did you find any Kizomba in the States when you were there? How did you keep in touch with that?
So I moved to the northeast of the U.S., Providence, Rhode Island, more specifically, and that's like a hub for Cape Verdeans. A lot of Cape Verdeans do immigrate to that area, New England, and yes, there was a few Cape Verdean clubs that were uh, very well attended at the time. Although in the beginning, I used to go every now and then. I used to go to, you know, hip hop clubs and all that. I was very much into that, but slowly I started migrating into the roots started calling me. It's funny how when you're an immigrant, your roots call you much more than you actually expect. You miss home to a certain extent, and that makes you migrate to the things that you are also familiar with. So immigration did that to me as well. Yeah,
Yeah, no, your roots they always find you, man. They always find you.
absolutely.
Always find you. Okay, no, so I want to talk to you then about Kizomba, the culture, and around the world of Kizomba. So, in your experience, yeah. So, how has the sound of Kizomba evolved since you started listening to it? So, to where we are now, we're 2025. Yeah, what's been the evolution? Would you say?
I think that over the course of time that I've been exposed to it, I experienced, I think, probably two or three major shifts of music in the 80s up until the okay in the 80s. Music was still, I guess, the sounds were still being experimented with. The synthesizers in the 80s started coming along. Folks like Manolima made very good use of it and started reshaping the sound of Cape Verdean music. But up until then, it was more, traditional sounds. Like, there was not electronic sounds or anything like that. And you can hear that across the board. But I think American funk, disco influenced some of those artists. In the mid 90s, I think there was another shift when artists from Holland in specific, like Nelson Freitas, Johnny Ramos, and the most Mobase project started introducing R&B and hip hop into the music. In this case, Cape Verde music in specific, Angolan music. I think there was a few artists that were moving the music along, just exposing the music to the folks out there. However, there was a civil war going on, so I think most of the artists that were producing and releasing music, some of them were outside of Angola. So the influence of Zouk was also big at the time, 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
I think that shaped Kizomba in general as it started becoming more popular in the 90s. Um, and I think that those shifts moved the music along and helped create an identity. Um, in the 90s, a lot through Zouk, late 90s through 2000s, R&B and hip hop started also becoming a part of those sounds. And I think mid 2000s to now, it started having a different identity, not, straying away from Zouk a little bit more. Also, Zouk evolved, changed from Zouk Chiré to Zouk Love to then the Zouk 2000s. Right now, I don't think you can find a lot of Zouk artists that are out there producing. Zouk went down a lot, while Kizomba went on the opposite direction. Also because of the dance, I think that helped become very popular. Nowadays, that's the younger generation is also being influenced by Afrobeats. There's no denying that Afrobeats has had an influence throughout the world, and Kizomba is no exception. So I think those 2 to 3 shifts happened, 90s, 2000s, and now the second decade of the 2000s is becoming more apparent that Afrobeats is here to stay and is still influencing music a lot.
Yeah, I mean that's great, and thank you. I mean it's a little bit of a history there. So you talk about the Zouks and the Kizomba and influences of people like Nelson Fredish and all that kind of stuff. So with all that in the mix, you think Kizomba is getting lost maybe in commerciality, in commercial production, or is it still honoring its roots, or is it getting a little bit lost? What do you think about that?
I think there's been a split in the market. Ghetto Zouk, late '90s, became popular and naturally attracted the younger generations that were also the ones that are also liked hip hop and R&B. They could identify with some of those sounds. Up until today, like with Afrobeats, the younger generation is gravitating more towards that, and the older generation feels like they don't make music like they used to anymore. The usual comments that every generation, I think, goes through that. But I think not necessarily lost. There's still plenty of artists out there doing music with more instrumentation, more. I hate to use the word traditional, just because it has a connotation of being old. That's not necessarily the case. There's plenty of young artists out there that are doing music that is not necessarily identifiable with Afrobeats or something like that. So with that said, the popularity of music for the younger generation is obviously at an all-time high. Kizomba that is more palatable for the older generations, I think that is less popular. That doesn't mean that it's not being made, but I think that as we move further along, I think the younger generations are going to start gravitating more into, I think that always happens, start gravitating more into the traditional sounds, if you want to say. Is Kizomba in trouble or not? I'm not sure. I think that remains to be seen. I hope more and more artists and younger artists gravitate more towards it and invest more in it. But I think it remains to be seen. I don't know if I really answered your question, or if you're satisfied with that answer. But yeah.
No, yeah, 100%. And I think the last part as well about what you said, it kind of goes round in circles, doesn't it? These things. So hopefully, well, I say hopefully, but like you say, the youngers might come back to more traditional. It's just the nature of things sometimes. So, and also, what, people are different, aren't they? Right. So they're going to like different things, and
absolutely,
music's always evolving, isn't it? So it's just thinking about that. Okay, no, that's great. No, you did answer the question. You did. So we talk about all of that. Then, what's something about Kizomba musical culture that you think people often misunderstand? We've talked a bit about Afrobeats as well, but especially outside of Africa, is there anything that you think people misunderstand about Kizomba?
I think a lot of people, and now that Kizomba is globalized, I think a lot of people think that, and there's this divide now. There's the traditional Kizomba and Kizz, as they call it, for urban Kizz lovers and and the younger generation. I think that they feel that Kizomba is for older people or for older folks that are listening to it, and therefore it's not cool if you listen to a Paul Flores or to a Grace Évora or artists of that caliber, right? I often think that they some years are not ready for that music, and that's fine. And even if you don't like the music, it's fine as well. I just think it's a shame that folks sometimes don't take the time to really discover those artists. But that's the way it goes. I mean, you can't force people's taste in music or anything like that, unfortunately. But
oh my god!
But that's also part of our job as DJs, to expose folks to as much of this music as possible, and in a way that I think that they can appreciate. So I think there's ways to do that.
Oh, you think there's an element of education there as well? So people, like you say, it's not a matter of changing people's tastes in music? Maybe it's a timing thing, but also, do you think sometimes people are lacking a little bit of an understanding of where it's coming from, and then that might change their perception?
Absolutely. I think that a lot of times what people are missing is the context, right? A lot of people, I go to a lot of festivals, right? And people want to be where the crowd is. You know, sometimes you have an urban kids room where there's a lot of people. Sometimes you have a kizomba room, there's not as many people. And they want to be where the hype is going, right? Understandably so. However, I think that there's a lot of people that, for example, in the US, they go to a kizomba party and they're like, it's okay. And you play the same music that is played overseas, and they say it's okay. However, if they go to Lisbon or they go to Luanda or they go to Maputo and they hear the same music in context with a lot of people dancing, a lot of people gravitating towards that music, I think all of a sudden that makes all the difference for them to be like, oh, this is not so bad after all. So context also matters in where they are exposed to the music. And I think, Victor, you were just in Luanda. I think maybe you can attest to some of that.
When you mention people like, Grace Ever and Paulo Flores, all these amazing artists, I mean, once you're in that mix and you're dancing to those kinds of music, I mean, it can't help but hit you regardless of
Right.
what your preference is like. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I've known a couple of people that were they didn't make it a secret that their preference was urban kids, and not that urban kids is a genre of music, but music that is played for urban kids dancers, right? And all of a sudden they either went to Portugal, they went to Luanda, which a lot of people are going to Luanda now because of many organizers that are bringing folks out there. And once they see that, they come back with a different perspective, and that changes their mind. Not to say that they don't like urban kids or music that is played for urban kids dancers, but they appreciate Kizomba in a different manner now, and they see it in a different light. And I think that makes all the difference. So we're not saying that you shouldn't like urban folk music that is for the younger generation or anything like that, but I think that it's helpful to appreciate different kinds of music if you see it in the different contexts, and then that helps you understand the music better once you are in your country of origin, being anywhere in Europe or the US or anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's definitely about that education. I agree with that 100%. Literally everything you just said there. So, yeah, if you can, people, go to Luanda, go somewhere, go learn, go listen to the music. That's what I say. That's what I say. But yeah. So yeah, look, you've mentioned a number of different musics, right? Just very briefly. So I want to get your perspective on this. So for people who may be listening to the podcast who don't know too much about Kizomba, or they might have come or heard Urban Kizz or whatever it might be. How would you, because obviously with Kizomba, we have Semba, we have Zouk as well, but just briefly able to explain their differences at all. So maybe Kizomba, Zouk, and Semba, right? Yeah.
Let's throw Coladera in there as well. Why not?
Yeah, absolutely. Why not?
Listen, that's an age-old question. I think that's from the beginning of Kizomba being globalized. Up until then, we didn't have to explain to each other what it was because we just instinctively knew, or sometimes thought we knew. There was a need to explain the differences once it became globalized and people didn't understand either the language or didn't understand the music in general. I think, 10 years ago, I think you couldn't go to a workshop and folks not ask that question. Like, so what is the difference? And a lot of times my question to those people was, if you thought you were dancing Kizomba to a Kizomba song, and you later found out that it wasn't Kizomba, it was Zouk or it was Semba. My question to the person is, do you dance it differently now? Do you interpret the song differently as an expression of dancing? Usually the answer is no. I think music or dancers, the way they interpret music, or sometimes a common mistake that people make is, if, of course, there are rules to a certain dance. You dance Semba, perhaps different, or a couple moves different from Kizomba. Zouk the same way, although in the Palop community, you're going to dance Kizomba to Zouk. But I think that's the way the music makes you move, or how you interpret the music, or the instruments that are in the music, is going to be the same. It's not going to make a difference if you know that the song now is Semba and not Kizomba, right? Going back to your question and the differences between those. Of course, Zouk is going to be different because of the language, although folks that are not familiar with Portuguese or French Creole or Creole from the Cape Verde Islands are not going to know, right? So they're not going to be able to identify that difference like that. But there's also different types of Zouk. There's Zouk Shihir, there's Zouk Love, there's throughout times there's been a great difference. I think that's in melodic terms, the riffs of the melodies of Zouk are very distinguishable from, for example, Cape Verdeans. There's a few more solos and keyboards, instrumentation use. A lot of the horn sections in Zouk, especially older Zouk, Zouk Shihir, they had horn sections. I was just at a Kassav concert a couple of weeks ago without the dear Jacob, rest in peace. Sound a little bit different, but you can see the horn sections is still there. Everything is still there. So there's a distinguishable side to that. I think that's Kizomba. Lately, you can find some music that adds some horns, being saxophone, being trumpets or whatever. But this older Zouk is very, Zouk Shihir, especially the Zouk de Kassav, that generation, you could always tell because they had the horn section. The melodies were also a little bit different from the Cape Verde music. Although Kizomba in the earlier stages, a lot of folks were trying to emulate Zouk, so the pattern or the beat follows the same pattern. Now with software that exists in a lot of DJs that have access to it, you can, for example, isolate sounds. You can isolate the drums, you can isolate the melody and all that, and you can remove it. So a lot of I've done this exercise in a couple of privates that I had, or a couple of workshops as well, and I isolate the drum pattern and I ask them to tell me if that's Kizomba, Zouk, or Semba. And most of the time you can't tell. Most of the time you can't tell. If you just have the drum pattern, you won't be able to really identify readily, right? So the melody part is very important. What instruments are used, all this besides the language. Semba also has the percussion part of Semba with the congas and all that is very distinguishable with the reku reku. It's also very distinguishable of Semba. You don't hear that a lot in Kizomba nor Zouk. So those are also instruments that can be used to sometimes distinguish. Although not everything is black and white. There's the new genre now, Kisemba, that folks are mixing both elements of Kizomba and Semba. So it's a little bit confusing, especially for people that are just starting. And I empathize with the difficulty that there is to sometimes identify all of those genres. But most of the time I tell people that are dancers and they have that question, I tell them, don't focus so much in those differences. I understand that you want to identify, you want to know how to tell, but the more music you listen to, the more you're going to be able to identify certain nuances, right? But I think that at the end of the day, how you're going to interpret the music and the instruments that are being played so you can dance to them is always going to be the same.
Okay. And, again, for those new people listening, you've just had a great education there in terms of the different musical styles and what to look out for. But that's fantastic. So just want to say, actually, myself and Adel, we had a workshop some time ago and we did a little exercise and we did just this thing where we got people, we had different stations.
Yeah.
and we Adel does DJing as well. So he played some music, and the exercise was go to the we had, what was it, Kizomba, basically Kizomba Semba, and basically go to the station that you think this song is playing.
Okay.
And it was hard for a lot of people, you know. It was very blurred sometimes.
Listen, even among pull-ups, we're not always agreeing to what genre of music. Sometimes we have I often have this conversation with Eddie sometimes, or with other folks, and we're like, what genre do you think this is? And we don't always agree. It's not always black and white. So, and if you ask the artist, for example, that question was asked of Grace Evera, and Grace is like, we just making music, man. It's like, you're not too focused in what we're making, what kind of music specifically we're making. So if it sounds good, then great. But they're not caught up in sometimes labeling the music that they're making.
Well, you just heard it here. Grace doesn't care what you're dancing to. If you're singing, just move. That's basically what it is. No, that's great, man. That's cool. No, great. So what's your, these questions are a little bit, okay. So what genre is your personal favorite?
Zouk.
Yeah, exactly. Zouk, right?
Zouk. I was just having this conversation this weekend with Eddie because we were also together at another event. But
so when you say Eddie, you mean Eddie Vance, right? Just
Eddie
for people who don't know. So Eddie Vance, who's a Kizomba teacher. Big up Eddie.
It's definitely my favorite. Zouk, I can remember being in my house at the kitchen doing homework and my mom listening to Kassav tape, going back to back to back. And although I thought it was annoying at the time, it was very ingrained in me. Kassav is still my favorite all-time band. Zouk for me was life, and it's what really also brought me to Kizomba. Zouk was the anchor that brought me back, basically. And to this day, retro Zouk from the 80s and 90s, I hear it and forget it. And I just go nuts.
Okay.
It touches deep.
Cool.
Right?
Absolutely.
So you must have a very big Zouk collection then of music.
I try to collect as much as I can. I still have mini discs, and I don't know if you remember mini discs. Those were popular in the 90s. I still have a lot of music in those mini discs that I have to. I was looking the other day on Amazon to see if I can find a mini disc player so I can actually retrieve those songs and all that. And for the longest time, I used to go to all the DJs' houses, and they had records, and just transfer the music from those records to, at the time, CD. And I've had those CDs transferred to digital files. And up until this day, when I play those songs, you hear it's still the needle going over the record, and that's those bring back great memories.
Yeah, no, beautiful, man.
Yeah,
beautiful. So Zouk, I believe that Eddie Vance, that's his favorite genre as well, if I'm not mistaken. That he told me the same thing.
I think that generation, if you ask anybody, or if you ask most people, I think that their answer is going to be Zouk, just because it marked such a period. Because either it was hard to get to studios at the time, expensive, and Zouk artists had access to that. They had an industry that was established that allowed them to have access to studios, and also producers that were basically had a monopoly, and like Henri Debs and later Section Zouk, that had access to great studios in Paris and in the Caribbean as well. That's allowed them to have great recordings and great access to great equipment. In the pull-up side, it's more informal. Even to this day, in terms of sales of music, then a lot of them are not registered with the SACEM, which is the organization in France that does most of Europe, I think. In the States is ASCAP. But a lot of them, the younger artists, like Georgie Nelson, they all, register the music, but older generation is not something that they often did. And if somebody did, it would be the record labels. But then that leaves the artist with no access to musical rights. So that's loss
Yeah,
of income right there.
absolutely.
So
Yeah, great information. So I think that I just said Eddie Vance, but also Rikita Alta. I believe she is her favorite is Zouk as well.
yeah.
Episode 2, people. Anyway, so Rikita Alta, yeah, she loves Zouk, Eddie, and yourself. So it's a thing, man. It's a real thing. It's a real thing.
Yeah, for sure.
So okay, so we're gonna move on to your experience then as a DJ, your craft, and Adele, talk to us about that.
All right, appreciate that. Okay, so let's get straight into that section then. Thinking back to when you got into DJing specifically, can you give us some insights into how it happened and also why it happened?
Oh, absolutely. When I moved to the States, I already was going to, like I mentioned before, to clubs in Portugal, African clubs that played a little bit of everything. When I got to the States, when I went to Cape Verdean clubs, that wasn't necessarily the case. I thought they were somewhat limited in terms of the music they were listening to. So I wasn't, for example, hearing kuduro, which was still in the infancy at the time. Brazilian music, which also a big part of any African club that you went to in other parts in other countries, like in Portugal, like in Cape Verde, like in Angola, Mozambique. Brazilian music was always a big part of either the prior to the party, everybody's getting there, they're listening to some soft uh, Brazilian music and all that. And I wasn't hearing that besides Angolan music and all that. So Cape Verdean music was being played, but I think there was not a lot of variety. And once I started going more into Cape Verdean clubs, that started, I guess, annoying me a bit more. And I decided to. I had a couple of friends that were DJs, so I started tagging along with them, learning the craft, helping, set up the sound and all that. Until one day, a good friend of mine, he asked me, "Hey, do you want to DJ a set or whatever?" And it wasn't even Kizomba that I was gonna play. I was gonna play hip hop. And I'm like, okay, I'll do that. And that's how it started. From that on, I started having a little bit more space into the night in terms of playing a longer set. At the time, American music or hip hop was 3, 4, 5 songs max. But then I started gradually having a little bit more time. At the time, I still didn't even mix, but I later learned that by accident. I was invited to go play at a wedding between a Cape Verdean person and somebody of Latin origin. I don't know if it was Colombia or something like that. At the time, I didn't want to do it. I wanted to go to some other club or whatever. I'm like, I have to go do this. So I went, but lo and behold, I was paying attention to what the DJ was doing and how he was using the cue and the play at the time with the Denon CD controllers. Um, and I started paying attention. I'm like, oh, so that's how they mix and they mark the song or whatever and things. So I went home. I asked the equipment from. I borrowed the equipment from a friend of mine, and I started practicing. And I got it, and it opened up just like this world of like, oh my god! So that's how they do it. So from then it was addicting. It was like practicing, recording, asking my sister-in-law see if she liked it or whatever. Now, what do you think about this transition or whatever? So it was interesting times and very fond memories that I have of that time. Nowadays, I don't have as much time to practice, but especially in the beginning, it's fundamental and it's crucial that you invest that time and that you do all that. So basically, those are the reasons why I started I started DJing and how I started DJing.
That's insightful. No, appreciate the information on that. Thinking in terms of DJing, given the experience that you went through, how do you see that evolving currently, and what information, what guidance could you give to novice DJs, myself included, as to what to really focus on, how to get over the nerves, for example, in performing, how to really emphasize that it's about playing the set?
Okay, let's go by parts. I think it's very, and thankfully, it's very easy to have access to equipment now to start DJing. But I think that's, I'm not saying that novice or DJs in the current generation need to go to over the same hurdles that we did. That's not necessarily the case, but I think they need to put in as much work as we did if they want to reach a certain level, right? I think there's less of demand in part of promoters and audience alike sometimes in terms of the level that the DJ has or doesn't have for that matter. I think a lot of time has to be put into knowing music, searching for music, and also in technical terms, in knowing your equipment. Also, I think that's important to know how to set up DJ equipment, because those challenges are going to be arising at any point. And you need to know, especially if you're by yourself, or even if you're not by yourself, you need to know how to troubleshoot. And, if the music stops, or there's the speaker on the right side is not working correctly, you need to be able to identify those and quickly react in order for the party to continue. I think that a lot of times, a lot of DJs that have some name, sometimes they're not familiar with the equipment, and they're not familiar in how to really address any issues that come along, and they have to call somebody else in order to troubleshoot whatever they're going through. So put in a lot of hours. I think that if you put in the practice, I think the nerves are always going to be there. But if you practice enough, or if you prepare yourself, and when I say prepare yourself, I'm not saying for you to have a set ready. I think a lot of times, in my view, DJs can make that mistake, have a set ready, like they know exactly what music they're going to play for an hour or 2 hours or whatever. And I usually don't recommend that, because what if the people are not reacting to the music that you're playing? What do you do then, right? So I think that you need to be prepared. You need to know your library in order to be like, okay, if not, they're not reacting to this, I can switch to this genre of music. And don't you can have playlists, and you can have music that you saved in different crates and all that. What I'm saying is refrain from having all the music that you're going to play in order or whatever. Or if you're going to play at a festival and the DJ before you plays 5 songs that you already were going to play, you need to switch it up. You need to, you need to see what people are reacting to. So if you know your library, then you don't have as many issues like, oh, what am I going to do now? Because you've already played the songs that I was going to play. So being prepared helps with the nerves. I think they're always going to be there. But being prepared and practicing will also help you in any situation that may arise, or any challenges that may arise. I still get nerves if I go play at a bigger festival, or if I play at a location that I've never played before, but that usually quickly dissipates because the music starts going. It just flows.
Dixie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, in today's day and age, when you're gonna DJ, in the first 5 minutes, what's running through your mind?
Make sure the transitions are on point. Make sure that nothing is going wrong or whatever. After the first couple of songs go through, okay, I like. Then you relax a little bit or whatever. What are they reacting to? What is, are there people sitting down? why they're not dancing, whatever. So it's a lot of things that go through your mind every 30, 45 seconds. You thinking about the next song that needs to go up. And you also at the same time need to think of what direction you want to take the night into. And that could be a lot of different ways. Depends on if you're playing at a festival, if you're playing an opening set, if you're playing a closing set, if you're playing a mid set. That all has its different. I don't want to say rules, but there's different ways to play depending on where you're playing, what position you're playing. If you're playing at a festival, yeah.
What's the longest set that you remember ever having to play?
Um, at a festival, it had to be like 3.5 hours or so. I think the DJ after two DJs that were supposed to come after me, they didn't show up, and I was playing the day social in Luxembourg. Lots of people, whatever. I was tired, but ended up being one of the best experiences, and lots of people coming to me and congratulating me because, like I said, once you get going on a rhythm and people are going along, then that opens up your library and you can go pretty much anywhere you want. And as a DJ, there's nothing more rewarding than that. It's just like they're reacting, they're going, everybody's on the dance floor, so I can experiment and go in different ways.
Yeah. Well, on that note, that's actually raising a good point, which is what sort of tricks would you say you have, and would you share as well, to make sure that those transitions, especially if you're 5, 10, 20 songs in, those transitions and the music you're choosing maintains the energy for the crowd?
Again, is knowing the music, right? Sometimes, a lot of times when I'm playing music that's high energy, it doesn't mean that is high BPM. Low BPM music can still have high energy, right? And I load the deck music into the deck to see if I'm playing, and I'm listening to music like this. It doesn't match. Like the energy is not there because you're here, and if you transition to a song that may be the same BPM, everything can line up, but the energy is not the same. There's going to be a drop in energy how people are dancing. So you always have to have that in mind. And I'm like, quickly get rid of that, bring something along. Doesn't mean that you'll always get it right, but with experience, normally is going to go through a progression of, I usually like to have peaks and valleys. I like to go up in energy, drop, go up in that journey again. I think that if you're always up here in energy, that also can be tiring and not and can make the party weird in a way. I think there's this analogy, just like a heartbeat. Um, there's the peaks and valleys, and if you're looking at the graph of the heartbeat, that means you're alive, right? And it goes up and down. If you go flat and you stay up in the energy, that means you're dead. Not to say, and not to be morbid in this case, but whatever. But I think that there's a lot of that ups and downs. Take people. I think oftentimes I relate to that. You play with people's emotions as you DJing. You take them in a journey. Like I'm gonna make them feel a certain way, and now I'm gonna make them feel a certain way. So you're dictating those emotions throughout the night.
Yeah. How do you balance that with what the organizers have asked you to play, if and when they do ask you to play?
Most of the time they don't. Most of the time, if somebody hires me, they know usually what to expect, unless they want a specific thing, or like play some Afro because there's been no animation yet or whatever. Specific cases like that, they may say something. I usually um I don't want to say annoyed, but annoyed when certain promoters try to dictate and tell you how to do it and where to go in terms of music, because they feel they know their crowd and what they. I mean, I understand if a promoter's there, like, listen, there's a lot of Haitians over here, play some compa or whatever. I understand that, but not when folks demand of you, like, you need to play this, you need to play this, you need to play this now at this time. Usually, I think then I'm thinking, why did you hire me? If I'm not making those decisions based on what I see, and I'm not saying that I'm always going to get it right, and that whatever decisions I make are going to make the crowd dance. However, if you hired me, it's because you feel that I bring something different, or I bring something that the crowd may want to hear. So at least allow me to make those decisions of where to go, or how to do it, when to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Slightly related one as well, which just popped into mind, having spoken to different DJs, is requests from the audience. What are your thoughts on that?
I need to get a T-shirt that says "No requests allowed." No, listen. I usually listen to what the crowd has to say. If somebody has a request, if it fits whatever I'm playing at the time, then I may try to work that in. If not, like, listen, like, I'll play that later or something like that, not right now. Or if I feel that it's not adequate to the party that I'm playing, then I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't have the song.
That's fair enough. That's fair. Trying to find a way out.
Right. Yeah.
No, that's fair. That's fair. No, I appreciate that. Jumping back to one thing you mentioned before about the importance of a DJ knowing his or her music, knowing his or her setup, what do they have, how do things work. Between the controller, as it's called nowadays, so the deck, whatever deck that people are using, whether it's club, whether it's owned, and nowadays the software that people will use, things like Rekordbox and among others, for aspiring DJs, what would you say is more important to focus on in those early days, in quotes, where they're still finding their feet?
In terms of what controller to use or what software to use or anything?
Which, it could be either or, yeah. It could be either or.
I often say, equipment doesn't make the DJ. It's part of everything. It's a component. It's good to have equipment that is going to sound right, that has a good sound card, that is not going to sound, crappy. But the equipment is not going to make the DJ. The DJ is going to be creative in a way. He can play anything and make a crowd rock, right? Software is just a place where you organize your music. It may have effects here and there or whatever, but I think oftentimes folks get caught up in the like, oh, my controller is better because it does this, or my software is better because I can, sort the music in this way or search the music in this way or whatever. And I think as long as your music is organized in the way that you can find it or being able to use it optimally, then that's all the external factors are. Like, you as a DJ, you're gonna bring you in your mind. You have a trip where you want to take these people on, like a voyage, like a musical journey. And it's not going to be the equipment that's going to help you make that necessarily better. May help in terms of sound and all that, but I think for the most part, you have equipment that plays through. Now, let me rewind a little bit on that, right? I think that if you have a controller and equipment, that is fine. But however, if you're at a location, at a club, festival, space, venue, that does not have optimal speakers where the sound is coming out right, then that makes a difference. Then in that case, like, I hate to be in a place that, the sound is not good or whatever. That's always going to translate into the DJ is not doing his job. Something is going on. I didn't like the night for whatever, because of the sound. That is something that I go to a place and people already know me. If the sound is not right, I try to, even if I'm not working at the event, I'll try to tweak the sound for the sound to be as optimal as it can be. However, there's situations that the sound is really not adequate, and that's very unfortunate for both the crowd and the DJ as well. Most of the times the DJ is not going to have control over that, because if they come into a situation, the sound's already set up, either being a club or being a festival that is renting the sound to be there, then at least the sound needs to be on point for people to listen in an optimal way. So that, in that sense, makes a difference. As far as the controller or the software that you use, that's just minimal. It's sort of important, but it's not going to limit you in what you need to do.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. It's the talent. It's basically the person that's standing in front of the deck and between the
Right,
deck and the
right.
crowd.
Because the equipment, it's not going to mix for you. Although there's all these kinds of features now with, synchronizing and all that.
Mm.
Those are tools to help you be more efficient, I guess, faster. But I think that the song selection, where you take me, what journey you take people on, is still up to you. So,
No, I appreciate that. Appreciate
yeah.
that. Out of curiosity, what do you use nowadays?
I have been using Serato DJ. I've been using for years. Um, Even since Live Scratch, whatever I've been using since 2007. Been
Mm.
consistent with that. As far as equipment, now I have Pioneer DJM S9, and I have a
Nice.
CDJ 1000. I have one because I travel a lot, and I used to bring my equipment actually a lot more often than I do now. But for travel purposes, it's just easier to
Easier.
bring that. And I have one backpack and one CDJ case. And if I have two, then I have to check something in, and that I won't check in the equipment because it's not going to come back in the
Exactly.
same condition for sure.
If it comes back at all.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No, no, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you.
yeah.
Just a
On a
question.
different
So,
note, so go ahead.
just a quick question. So, obviously, the equipment that you're talking about, and obviously people listening in who might be wanting to explore DJing or that kind of stuff. So, the equipment that you've just mentioned, is that quite high end equipment for
It's
maybe
toward the
new
higher
DJ, new
ends.
DJs?
It's towards the more higher ends of things that are, and right now you can get controllers that are this big. They have sound cards that the sound is also limited. But there are there's a lot of different options for DJs that are starting right now
Right.
that don't want to spend as much money, because it's a hobby, because, it's not, they don't get paid to do this. And then there's a higher end equipment. The higher end equipment for you to get a set, it could be upwards of $6,000 for you to get a professional equipment. Um, for you and this is without speakers or anything like that. This is just for you to play, to control your music. Then if you add speakers and all that, then of course that brings that to a different amount. But it's towards the higher ends. Then again, I've gone through a lot of different equipment. I still have a controller that I played with before, but that equipment, it can range from mids to more professional to higher ends. It can range from controllers 1,500s to 2,500 to $6,000 again. So the equipment that I have right now is at that midpoint. So
Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to, because some people might be looking at that, like, okay, let me go and get that, or look at that, and they'll be like, hold on, hold on a minute. So yeah, we give them a
yeah.
range.
I mean, if they have the money, the disposable income to be able to invest in that, better for them, because obviously it's great equipment.
Yeah.
But if they don't, and they feel that money is a concern, and they still want to invest in something to play, there's plenty of controllers out there that are more affordable on the more affordable spectrum. So yeah.
Speaking of that, and speaking of aspiring DJs and young DJs, what do you see said DJs doing nowadays that you actually admire, especially with all the experience and the history that you have in the scene?
Listen, some of them can be various things. Some of them having the courage to get out there and play in front of people. It's not easy, especially when you were never exposed to that. If you've never been exposed to that, even more if people play Kizomba and they're not Palop. And Palop meaning the countries that are of African descent that speak Portuguese as an official language. So folks that are American or Portuguese, French, whatever, that don't know necessarily the language and are out there playing the music because they invest that much time, because they go out that much, that in order to be exposed to music, in order for them to then load the music, know what to play, when to play it. So I admire that, that folks are in investing in the culture and the genre of music that they don't, in language they don't necessarily know, and be able to sustain a night and play out there. I think that, and a lot of creativity as well. A lot of these young DJs that are coming now that have a lot of creativity and dabble along and move that DJ culture in that particular genre of music along. So I think that's admirable.
On the flip side, what do you see? Where do you see that they're going wrong, or they're deviating slightly, that they could benefit from an adjustment in course, for example?
Yeah, I think that's going to be usually lack of commitment, lack of investments in what they are doing, lack of preparation. Those are going to be the situations that usually disappoint me, if you ask me, because a lot of people sometimes come and ask, or what do you think of such DJ or whatever, and not that I need to have an opinion of whatever. I can usually tell, or I can usually, if I walk in a place and the DJ ear is not going to ever be turned off. That's something, if you start DJing, and wherever you go, you're always going to be usually paying attention to what the DJ is doing. The transitions are right, and unfortunately, I have very expressive eyes. They usually tell me, and I've been in situations where I was at a certain location and I've received a text saying "fix your face," because my face just could translate everything that was going on. But yeah, I usually turn, and I don't necessarily may know, if I walk into a venue, I may not know immediately where the DJ is, but if something goes wrong, I immediately turn to see where the DJ is, to see what happened, because a lot of things can happen. Somebody can bump into the DJ, the DJ is distracted, whatever it may be. But a lot of times it's mistakes, and everybody makes mistakes. Don't get me wrong, I make mistakes, but when it's consistent mistakes going throughout your set, then that becomes a trend that's determines that's you can identify that as lack of preparation or lack of ability to play. And I think that you don't have to be super hard on yourself, and you have to start somewhere, but you need to be minimally prepared to play in front of people. So usually that's the minimum that one should ask of a DJ.
I get you.
Yeah.
Understand. Having been in similar, a bit tricky situations, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand.
But then again, also, it could be sometimes it's not the DJ's fault, it's the promoter's fault or something like that. I always believe that the promoter, whoever is hiring that DJ, should put that DJ in the best position possible to be successful. Mm-hmm. So if you have a DJ that is not as experienced, but you give him a slot that a lot of people are there, a slot that, prime time of the night, and they're not doing that great, then the promoter, I think, or the head DJ should also take some responsibility on that. Not to say that, novice DJs can't take prime time slots. However, if they're not prepared, then who's going to suffer is the crowd that's attending the party.
Yeah. Would you say that's the number one thing that you'd wish promoters would do more often, is to be mindful of providing the best environment for DJs?
Yes, I think definitely that should be something that promoters pay attention to. A lot of festivals do hire a head DJ to handle all of that. So the promoter, of course, also has a lot of different things that they have to be concerned about, and not necessarily have to pay attention to what's going on in the DJs. Because usually when you hire also DJs, you expect them to be professional, to act as such.
Of course.
Not always the case, but that's why usually sometimes the head DJ is also helpful.
I get it. I understand. When you're not DJing,
yeah,
we've been talking about when you're DJing, the experience of DJing, what device you have. When you're not DJing, what do you enjoy to listen to in your personal life, when you're just chilling, relaxing? What do you like to
a lot of different types of things. If you go through my phone, it's on my music. A lot of the music that's on my phone is what I play in my car. Sometimes I have some Kizomba and some Zouk, but It's going to be deep house, some Afro house, some what else? Some jazz. So music to just relax and get away from, because I'm so much into when I'm playing into the music, and that often happens when I'm playing festival back to back to back to back. I need to get a break so I can listen to something else. And so also I if I play often like that, then I feel that I'm playing the same music and I need to decompress in order to get back and with a different feel from what I'm doing.
Yeah, well, I understand.
Yeah,
I get you. Getting a bit of a change in scenery in an auditive sense. In that.
Yeah. Like, I also like to listen to a lot of music from music from back in the day, old school R&B, old school R&B. Sometimes rock, whatever I'm feeling that day. I wake up with a song in my head, and that determines the the rest of the day.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I get it. Happens a lot. Oh, this song I haven't heard it in several weeks. Oh yeah, but it's just in my head.
Right.
Let's transition here to discuss a little bit about festivals and also the legacy that you're looking to leave here. And this is where I'll jump across and hand over to Victor, so to guide us through that.
Yeah. Sure. But just before we do, DJ Guelas, I want to ask you a quick question. So we had a guest on our podcast, DJ Fafushu and DJ Kindoki, two DJs from the UK, both from Angola. And I asked them the question, what's important about DJing? And one of the answers was the fact that, they said that DJing is no joke. They take it really, really seriously. Okay. It's not a joke thing, when, they're preparing for music, way ahead of the event. It's not a joke. So what I want to find out from you is, when I ask them the question, what's one important thing that you want people to realize about a DJ's work, a DJ's life? That was the answer they gave. So what would be your answer to that question? What do you think? What do you want people to understand? Maybe one thing you want really people to understand about the work that you do, Yeah, that's the question, really.
I want people to understand that playing music is not just pressing the play button. That comes up a lot. Oh, you guys just play, but you just play the music and you're there. You don't do much. You don't have that much responsibility or whatever. I'm not paraphrasing over here, but that comes up a lot. People usually often tend to minimize the importance of the DJ, and what they don't realize is it's a lot of pressure. No matter what set you have, no matter what time you play, no matter how many people you're playing for, you never know who's listening, first of all. But most of the time, you playing, and like I said earlier, every 15 to 20, 30 seconds, you thinking of what song to play next. What can I play next that people are going to continue dancing? Your goal is to have as many people in the dance floor as possible for as long as possible, right? So if there's nobody dancing, that's your responsibility. You're the one playing music. And there's
real
cases,
pressure, isn't it?
Yeah, and there's cases that sometimes you play music that usually people dance to, and people are not dancing for whatever reason. Sometimes the lights are too bright and people are kind of conscious to go to the middle of the dance floor, open up or whatever. Sometimes it's too dark or whatever. So it could be a lot of different reasons. Sometimes the music that you're playing is not pleasing that particular crowd that you're playing for. But all of that, whatever happens in the party, is going to be the responsibility of the DJ. If a party's reputation, a festival's reputation, is going to be depending on the DJs that are there as well, especially, of course, the parties. So you have to think about all of that. In the meantime, while you're doing that, there's people coming to you asking you, where's the bar? Can I put my jacket over here? Hey, do you know what the promoter is? And you, at the same time, are thinking about what music to play, what song to play, because there's still people out there dancing. And sometimes you have under a minute before the song that's playing is going to be over, and you have to play the next song in a way that people are going to continue dancing, not a break, so you can then play the next song. You have to mix it in. At what point you're going to mix this in? Is there a part for me to mix this in? So there's a lot of different things, and a lot of times people don't realize. But at the end of the DJ set, if you play 2-3 hours or whatever, especially the longer sets, you're mentally exhausted because you thinking about all of this constantly and whatever. Sometimes is more mentally draining, sometimes is not. And I'm not sitting here saying that it's this horrible job. If you love doing it, that's what you do. It is what it is. But sometimes people's indifference about DJs and they just play music. And a lot of times my answer to them is like, okay, let's do this. You have music on your laptop, bring your laptop. You have 500 people in this party. Play music for 2 hours for these 500 people to keep dancing. Are you going to be able to do that? You may be able to play 1-2 songs, but after that 1-2 songs, like, what am I going to play? What do I want these people to feel? And sometimes and inexperienced folks can go over there and play, if it's a Kizomba party. Kizomba, um, let's say, I don't know, 95 BPM. They jump to Semba and they come back to think people are not going to dance like that. They're just going to sit down like, what is going on over here? There's a method, there's an art to this in terms of bringing these people in the journey in a way that's is almost seamless when you bring them in this journey. So I think that that's something that I would love for most people to understand. It's the DJ's job. Is we may love it, it may seem like it's fun, it may seem for an outsider, or it may seem like it's easy, but it's definitely not.
Wow, yeah, and thank you for sharing that. And it's an eye opener, and it's important for people to hear as well. That's why I asked the question. And you said something as well that hit me really. You said that it's the DJ's responsibility. So the festival, so DJ's responsibility of the festival for the festival, right?
Right.
So you're right, because people will remember the nights, they'll remember the DJs, they'll remember the music. So I don't think people all kind of realize that. So when you said that, it's kind of like, okay, yeah, that's pressure. That's a lot of
Right.
pressure.
Yeah.
So,
Speaking,
you know what I mean?
Speaking of which, what for you makes a song DJ worthy for you?
Um, let me
Especially
see how
given
to
the pressure.
let me see how to answer that question. It's sometimes DJ, or a lot of times, most times, people or DJs will also play a song that they don't necessarily like. Also, you can't be a DJ that plays music for yourself. You also need to understand there's marketability to certain songs that people, a lot of people, it's popular for whatever reason. People like that song. You may not like the song, but listen, the song is hot. People are dancing to it. Then you're going to play because you want to have people dancing to. It's your job, right? I think most of the time DJs are going to play something that they like. I think that it's so before people DJs really made songs, right? There wasn't social media. There was radio DJs in radios that pick certain songs that put out there. Then if you play it long enough, or if you play it in a way that people are going to understand and like, then they made those songs. That's why the importance of even bigger the importance of DJs back in the day. Nowadays, you have social media, you have YouTube, you have all of these platforms where people go and listen to music and create these trends. So I think in a way it's more fast foodish, like it's quick consumption. Song is hot for 2 weeks, then it's not. You don't hear that song anymore. I think it's harder to achieve classic status that stands throughout the test of throughout the time.
Yeah.
I think it's harder for you to produce music like that. right now, the way that music is being consumed. But I think good music is always going to be good music, and that depends on a lot of different factors. Melody, is it catchy? Is it in the trend of where music is going right now? Because it also, at the same time, if music is way too different, then is it going to be matching with whatever else you're playing? So it's a lot of different factors that go into what you play, how you play it, when you play it. But it's always going to be with certain popularity. It doesn't mean that certain songs that are not played as much are not good, but there are also DJs that are out there looking for the most obscure song that nobody has ever heard, so for the sake of being different, and that's also not productive, I guess. So yeah.
Understand. And the struggles of performing as a DJ, as you say, it's art. This isn't a science. This isn't just pressing buttons.
Yeah. And then there's so much music. So you also have, I all like to play a little bit of everything from old school to music that's being produced now. And you have a very specific time frame where you need to do this. So sometimes you have an hour set, an hour and a half, 2 hours. And then like, what am I going to play? Like, also depends on what the other people are playing. Certain DJs out there, they're only looking to play the current bangers, what is hot right now. But that doesn't mean that music that was produced before is not good or shouldn't be played. So you also can find your niche over there in terms of like, oh, I'm going to take this opportunity to take this crowd in a different journey from music that from back in the day or from, a year ago that maybe is not being played as much anymore. And you need to find your own, because if everybody goes and plays the same music, then the crowd is the one that suffers from that. Oh, I already heard this song 5 times today. It may be good, but not that good.
Yeah. Quickly gets boring.
Yeah.
No, great. Thank you for that insight. And okay, I got a question for you, right? Before we get into festivals and legacy. This is a left field question, okay?
All right. I'll try to have a left field
you
answer.
were talking about. Yeah, okay. You were talking about some of, so Adele was asking you about what you listen to, and you say, if you look at your phone, there's a range of music on there, right? So I just want to take us back in the day a minute, right? So just bear with me with this one. So back in the day, we used to have these things called mixtapes, right? So we had the tape and we made songs, all that kind of stuff. And sometimes you might make a mixtape for your girl. Okay. You might make a nice tape for your girl that you give her, and it's nice. So I'm just trying to ask you, have you made any mixtapes in your time for your wife?
I had some mixes that I'd played live that usually were, she likes to have input and she has very good musical taste. And a lot of times she will send me songs. Even the other day, I was in flight on the way back to Miami and she sent me a song like, oh, listen to this song, whatever. So there's definitely sometimes mixes that I do that I have her in mind, that are specific songs that we both like, that we like to dance or just appreciate. And sometimes, there's a couple of mixes that I definitely that have that in mind, or her in mind.
I got you. Okay. I had to ask, man.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day making tapes, mixtapes for a girl I was dating at the time. It's just how it is, right? But anyway, it's all good.
Well, now the question is, what music did you put in it?
Hey, man, this is my podcast, man. What's going on
here? for a later conversation.
Yeah. Let's just say it was nice. But anyway, moving on to festivals. Okay. So listen, Kizomba festivals, man. I mean, I've been dancing Kizomba for maybe, 13, 14 years, or let's say trying to dance Kizomba. But in the Kizomba world, And since that time, I mean, festivals, I mean, they were there at that time, but now it's just everywhere. Yeah. So I guess the question is, what's it like watching the growth of that? And do you think there's too many right now, or what are your thoughts on festivals in that regard?
I think like everything else, it's about cycles. I think for some reason it's a Kizomba. It's on the down cycle right now. I think a couple of festivals in France are having the responsibility to carry Kizomba, and where Kizomba has successful festivals. I'm not even talking about Urban Kizz, right? I do think that Urban Kizz, there's a lot of different festivals, especially in Europe. Um, it's overcrowded right now. In Kizomba, I don't think that's the case. Kizomba itself, like Mongole, just happened last week, I believe, and I think it was successful. I had a couple of friends that were there, and they told me very good things about it. There's a couple other festivals in France, in particular. So I think those are helping to keep Kizomba only festivals afloat. I do think that worldwide Kizomba is on a down cycle right now. Hopefully, that will be changed soon, and more festivals, more people are willing to invest in risk, because it is a risk as well as an investment of your time, money. But it goes through cycles. I think that's nowadays it's harder to pull and find community in Kizomba folks, as well as promoters that are willing to create communities in their cities, which is the backbone of having people going to these festivals and funnel these people, these communities to festivals, right? I think back maybe 10 years ago, there was more people that were willing to do that and put in the work. And nowadays, I think the folks that were dancing then or were learning then, I think that they feel that they've reached a plateau as far as what they could learn. They want to go to parties, they want to dance or whatever. Um, and there's not a new generation of dancers which are the fuel for the workshops, for bringing teachers because they want to learn and are thirsty to learn. I think that's lacking right now. And I think so throughout the globe, I think that there's a lot of different festivals that are finishing, like Awake in Australia finished. There's our festival finished last year. It was 10 years. Usually it seems like that 10-year mark is the marker for the endurance of a festival. Very few have been making it past that, or very few have owners and people that are willing to invest past that, unfortunately. On the Urban Kids side, I think that there's a lot more people. There's been a younger generation that's been able to recruit more people, more dancers. I think they also have the ability to promote it better, that deal better with social media. It's their world, is how they grew up. So they're better able to expose it. With more exposure, there's more people that are willing to join that. And so I think that's why there's the Urban Kids, besides the music and how it attracts younger people, has been able to exponentially build on the festivals that they've been making. That's why, especially in Europe, there's festival after festival, sometimes 4 or 5 festivals in the same weekend.
Yeah, yeah. It's sad that what you're saying, that it's on a decline. Hopefully we can. Well, is there anything you think we can do to keep it up, keep it there?
Again, I think that more people that are willing to invest in the local communities, so they can then fuel interest in festival goers and all different kinds of places. I think that
Yeah,
it lacks that. I think that there was a generation of promoters and people that were willing to invest that have reached mentally, they've plateaued. So a new generation of people need to come in and like pick up where that work was left off and like, okay, let's try to do something. On another
yeah,
note, I think it's something that I've been saying for a while, and I think um, there's an opportunity for African Inside was a festival that created a lot of teachers because it fostered competition. There was structure to it. It gave visibility to people. So African side produced many teachers that for many years were touring the world teaching. That
Yeah.
fueled interest, that fueled people to funnel into these festivals. And unfortunately, African side disappeared. And there hasn't been anything that was able to replace that. I think Urban Kids created something sort of similar, which was the Olympiads and some other events that they were doing. So they were having local events in all different parts of the world, and the winners would go to Paris to go compete. There was a component of Kizomba to it, but the focus was Urban Kids. I think that's lacking for Kizomba. I think there's a couple of folks over here in the States, Asita and Arena. They were just this weekend at Sawa Sawa Festival in Washington, D.C. They organized this Jack and Jill that's they had. It was well attended. Folks were interested. They were competing. I think that it starts with that to create more interest, especially in the novice folks that are coming in. So they see enthusiasm. They see and they become eager to learn and want to compete and want to travel and do all of that. Um, that helps, but I think it starts with that. I think that should be probably the basis of generating more interest, so more people are funneled to these festivals. Because else, I don't think
Yeah.
it's going to survive, at least in the current format.
Yeah. No. Okay. Anything we can do to keep it up, man. That's what I'm. That's what
Hey,
I'm
listen,
interested in.
podcasts are also important, and so yeah, this is important conversation happening over here, so people are aware. So yeah.
Yeah. And then let's talk about, so, you mentioned it, and I was very lucky enough to come over to Miami. I think it was 2018, to experience your festival there at that time. Obviously Miami, what can you say about Miami, right? Amazing, right? But yeah, that festival was nice, man. So I guess the
Nice.
question is, not what happened, but is it what you were just talking about, reaching the plateau, or what the any other reasons for that? Or
Yeah.
can it come back, or is that?
Listen, never say never, right? Um, I
Yeah.
think that we were in a situation that we did it for 10 years. It was a good run. Everything thing runs its course. I think it was important for us to go out at least on top, at least as of right now. We don't know if it's going to come back in a different iteration, in different formats, or in the same format. We don't know. I don't think so at this point, at least. But it was important for us to go out on a good note, and I believe we did that. We had a record number of attendees last year. It was a good addition. Folks had fun. Folks are still asking everywhere we go for us to bring it back, um, because it became a part of at least the Cape Verdean community over here in the States. They don't have many opportunities to go out and have fun and go to an event where they feel that they are represented. And Miami became that for them, became their vacation spot. If they weren't going to Cape Verde, they were going to Miami, which is initially was one of the goals that we had. But then again, there's limitations, there's lack of support, there's sponsorship would have been important. I think that an event of that magnitude um, should and needs to have sponsorship in order to help um, support the expenses and support the risk that we take, because it's all fun and games until and people see a lot of folks out there, attendees, and people for many years thought that we had a lot of money, that we were rich. It's definitely not the case. But yeah, but appearances do people do think that's it's more successful than it actually is. It was a lot of effort. It was a lot of time consumption. It was a lot of investment on our part to make that festival happen. A lot of times for
Yeah.
in detriment of our own financial situation, in order for people to have fun, and that's all great. We love to see people have fun, but at some point it needs to be it needs to make sense for us as well.
Yeah. Well, like I say, it was a great. I only went there one time. I would love to have gone back as many times as I could. But it was a great thing in terms of what you
So I
got on.
believe you
And like I say,
probably,
obviously, Miami.
if you went in 2018, you probably saw Yola Smith when I think it was the 5th anniversary, and if you went Yola Smith when Jennifer Diaz.
I thought Jennifer was there. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think that was
Jennifer
the one
Diaz
that
on
she was
Friday
there.
and
Yeah.
Yola on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what can you say? But anyway, it's all good, man. But anyway, if the future holds well and that comes back, then it will be very, very, a very good thing. But thank you for the memories of that, because that was great. That was great.
I feel like I missed out. I should have.
You
gone.
did, man.
Now it's too late.
you did, Adel. You did.
It's all right. It's coming back. Don't worry.
It's coming back eventually. We'll see. Yeah. Never say never. It's never say never.
Never say never.
Fair enough.
So, Guelas, with all your experience, okay, has there been anything that's totally surprised you, either on the dance floor or behind the decks? Funny moment, silly moment, embarrassing moment, anything that you can think of? Just one thing that you can share.
Definitely surprising moments. Thinking back 30 years ago when I was starting my first steps in music, I never thought that I would be, traveling the world doing something that I love, playing music, exposing folks to pop music. Definitely, remote places in Australia, in India. Not that I played in India, but I know that there's a community out there and they're doing a very good job of exposing the culture. But Brazil, all over Europe, over here in the US, so many people being exposed to the music and actually enjoying and sometimes appreciating more than Palop folks being that much into it. That's definitely something that was pleasantly surprising. That's I definitely take into account and definitely appreciate these people's efforts in bringing artists in to sometimes in situations that are very difficult financially wise, and to bring artists out there to make this effort just because they love the music and the dance. So that's something that's been definitely pleasantly surprising and something that I definitely appreciate to this day.
Fantastic. No, great. And so speaking about artists, well, I know that you release CDs, or you have released CDs in the past.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about that when you come back on the next episode.
Okay. Deal.
In depth. All right. So see what I did there. But anyway. All right. So so you obviously work with lots of different artists and you make music. But are there any artists you think people need to hear more of right now? Anybody, any names that you can share?
People that I guess get into Kizomba right now, artists that they may want to pay attention to.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Definitely, I would say Grace Ever from Cape Verde. Artists that span different generations of music listeners. Started late 80s and is still going, still releasing great music. So there's a great library of music that they can listen from, both individual efforts on his own and also groups that he was a part of, like Liviti, like Splash. So there's definitely a huge library of music that they can be exposed to if they haven't already.
Great.
From Angola, I would say Paulo Flores, Yuri da Cunha, still releasing great music. Paulo Flores, again, the same, making music still since the 90s and still producing great music. And if they have a chance to really either translate the music or pay attention to what he says, because the depth of his music is not only instrumental wise, but lyrically, he's definitely one of the best that we have out there. And what he sings about, he sings for the people. Yudi Cunha, being the entertaining that he is, also lyrically, musically, he's one of the top ones over there. Yola Samedu, um, one of the great voices in Africa. It's a lot of different artists out there that are waiting to be discovered. And fortunately, with the platforms that we have out there, Spotify, YouTube, and all that, folks have access to them. But yeah, I think that Kassav for sure. I can't forget Zouk. Kassav, just because if you listen to Kassav and Zouk in general, I think you can see the basis of where the music is now, Kizomba wise, as far as the instrumentation, as far as what they brought to the table, recording methods, always having great production. So I think those artists would be great to explore and to listen and to be exposed to.
Thank you. And every single one of them is great. And anybody new listening or watching, check those artists out, because you'll be enlightened and in heaven with the music that they produce and play. So thank you. And just, what are some of the projects coming up for you then, Guelas? Anything that you're excited about that you're working on in terms of just music, DJ, maybe? Anything that you want to talk to us about, promote?
Nothing that I can share as of yet. As far as there was probably a project maybe coming up that we that we have in mind. We had the idea was maybe supposed to start this summer, but unfortunately we weren't able to have time to really dedicate to that. Maybe perhaps winter or next spring, hopefully maybe. That's as far as organizing an event, not a festival, but other than that, I'm looking forward to certain events that I'm going later this year. Like I'm going to Senegal for the first time to play in Dakar. I'm looking forward to that because I do have family over there, and it's a place that I've long been wanting to go to. So really looking forward to that. WKD Alianza is the name of the event. There's going to be also tours and exploring the city of Dakar. So looking forward to that. And there's some other events, some other cool locations that I'm going to later this year, Buenos Aires as well. So Cape Verde, I'm going also for a private event, but always looking forward to go to Cape Verde, perhaps Angola. So as well at the end of the year. So
hey, listen, all of those places sound amazing. Very lucky, and enjoy it, man. Just that's what I got to say. Enjoy them.
For sure.
So yeah, no, that's great. So just gonna almost wrap up and talk to you about the future with you. So Adel, over to you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Speaking of the future, you've come a long way, clearly. As we've had here the conversation, we could continue on for much longer. Looking at the future, how do you stay inspired and keep learning? Not just the technical skills, but also just in general with artists and music and production, events, after all these years?
Listen, I think it's easy to do that just because I think that if the moment that you think that you reach the peak of learning, that you can't learn anything else, then you're not doing anything in the field, and you might as well quit. I think it's a world of constant evolution. I think as a human being in general, I think that's an attitude to have, because you don't know everything, and the moment that you think you feel you do, then that's when you start regressing. So there's always, I think I try to learn from everybody that I get in touch with, either being even younger DJs that are not as experienced. They may do something different that I don't, offer a different perspective. When you are in the field for that long, you sometimes get set in your ways, and those ways may not be the best or the most efficient. So there's always opportunity to learn something different of how to do something. Um, Same goes for, you know, music production or anything like that. You know, I, I was a part of a group that we did production. I don't necessarily play any instruments, but there was a producer with us that translated the ideas that we had. So definitely, music production is definitely something that I have to learn a lot about. So that always keeps me on my toes, although I don't have much time to do so. But yeah, yeah. So, you know, getting back to your question, you know, I think that's, you always have to be in a learning mode, because the minute you stop doing that, you start regressing. That's something that I definitely don't want to do.
Very humbled by that. Very, very much humbled by that, because it is really keeping yourself young, that mentally you've always got something to learn. You've always got something to stretch the mind in that sense.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
No, I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
appreciate that also that you've taken us on such a beautiful journey here.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
Doing it, no, really, it's been insightful. It's been amazing to listen to the experience that you have and answering the questions that we have for you. Doing a bit of a full circle here and coming back to the beginning, taking into account all the experience that you have, all the connection you've had with the music, as you were saying, from very early age, what does Kizomba represent and mean to you?
A lifestyle. Kizomba, it means party. It means, you know, being in touch with your roots. Um, it means socializing. It means appreciating life, appreciating music, appreciating other folks. For me, also means, uh, it means the sustainability. It means of traveling the world. Um, a means of doing something that I love to expose people to. So it represents a lot of different things. Um, Funny that Kizomba means the same thing as Zouk does, which is party, which is gathering, which is, um, and you know, I don't know if by accident, I don't know if by definition of things of what it is, it's just crazy that a musical genre that influences Kizomba so much means exactly the same thing. So it represents all those things for me. Yeah.
Hey, most beautiful things in life have come from the African continent. I'm
Absolutely.
biased, I know, but there we go. There we go. We have it there. Africa is my DNA. There you go. I like that. I need to get one of those T-shirts. So, no, I appreciate that. Appreciate that. We've come to one of my favorite parts in the Kizomba Conversations podcast episodes, which is the 3 questions.
Okay.
Victor, over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So the questions, but just before we get there, just where can people or listeners find you or follow you, your socials? What, tell us.
I've been doing a horrible job of that. I used to have a professional account for SoundCloud. Something happened and it's not a professional account anymore. I have had the same 5 mixes because it's the limit that SoundCloud allows you to have. Same 5 mixes over there forever. But I've been trying to keep, or I'm going to work more on my YouTube page, and it's a DJ Guelas YouTube page. That I've been uploading some mixes. I have a recent mix over there. I'm going to try to upload something every month. But all my social media, you know, Instagram is DJ_Guelas. YouTube is DJ Guelas. SoundCloud is also DJ Guelas. I'm also on Mixcloud, but there's also some old mixes over there. So YouTube is going to be the platform that I'm going to try to keep more updated and try to update regularly, at least every month, put a mix over there, because or else Tanya is going to kill me. So because she keeps on insisting, and I need to put my work out there.
So YouTube's the main space, but is there anything around Instagram or Facebook people can get you on? Or
yeah, like Instagram, I'll post some events. I'll post my events over there. I'll also, if I post mixes on YouTube, I'll also announce on Instagram. So my Instagram page is DJ_Guelas. So yeah.
great. So you heard it here, people. You know where to find him. You know where to find him.
Yeah.
And then just lastly, in terms of questions, I know you did a podcast. I know you
Briefly.
Tanya and briefly DJ Gallo, who has also been a guest on our podcast.
Yes.
Yeah, I know you did a podcast. It was called Unapologetically Kizomba.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. Love the name. Is that coming back?
Hopefully. That's all I can say right now. We've talked about it.
Okay.
We lead such busy lives that we thought we were going to have more time to work on it than we actually did. But I think that there's always room for improvement on our time management, and perhaps that will make a comeback as far as the portion of the podcast is concerned, and perhaps everything else that surrounded that project as well. Lots of things to think about as well. But yeah. And by the way, that's not the only podcast that I had. I briefly also had a DJ podcasts that I had, which was BPM Zone, where I interviewed DJs because I felt that what you're actually doing right now, highlighting DJs and our profession, what we do, what we go through, was important. And not a lot of platforms were doing that. So I started that, didn't continue. So I'm not trying to say that's a trend with myself over here, but time again is limited. But yeah, that's another project that I had.
Yeah, no, and look, I totally get it because I doing this. It's a lot of time that goes into these things. So I totally understand what you are saying there. But if they do come back, well, I'll definitely be having open ears, listening out, and I'm sure many people will be as well. So let's watch the space. What I'm going to say.
Likewise, you as well.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. 100%. But all right. Time has come. See these three?
Okay.
Yeah. So we got green, orange, and yellow. And the idea is for you to pick two. And then the last one, either myself or Adel will answer. You can choose, actually. Okay.
So I can choose two right now, right?
Well, yeah. So which one do you want to?
Orange and yellow.
Which color do you want to pick for? Okay. Okay. All right. So orange and yellow. Let's start with the yellow, right? So. Okay. All right. So your preference here, okay? Dream set. Okay, what is your dream set out of these options? Sunset on the beach in Cape Verde or midnight rooftop in Lisbon?
Sunset in Cape Verde.
Sunset in Cape Verde?
Yeah.
Do I need to ask why, or is it...
Yeah. I think from just from the standpoint of I don't go to Cape Verde as often. I feel that probably Lisbon, that would be easier to happen. Cape Verde is probably not as easy, but I might actually do just that now in this private event that I'm going to be playing there at the end of the year. So might happen.
Okay. Beautiful. Yeah. Well, cool. No worries. All right. And you said orange, right?
Yes.
You said orange and yellow. Okay. So this one, you have one final track to close out a perfect night. Yeah. You've probably done this many times before, but anyway, you got one final track to close out a perfect night. Dancers are vibing. Everything's nice. So how are you closing it out? Are you closing it out with something slow and soulful, or something high and energetic?
I'm closing out with something high and energetic. I'm gonna, just because it could be millions of songs, but some song that I heard yesterday, and it stayed in my mind, still in my mind. Actually, that's Tanya and I's song, and that would be Kassav. The name of the song is Zou, Z-O-U. Great track, great
Z-O-U.
It's go listen to it because it's just a piece of art.
Okay, I'm on that straight away after this. So Zouk, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, you heard it here, people. Okay, no, thank you very much. There's one question here that you avoided.
All right.
Oh man, and I wish you had got this one, so I might have to get you to answer it anyway.
And let me tell
Right?
you why I didn't pick green, because green is the sports, the football team it's our biggest rival. I'm a Benfica fan. Sporting is green. That's Tanya's team. I dislike them, so as red is close to orange. That's why I picked yellow.
Okay, so
yellow. I know,
we get
very
the education there, so that's cool.
I'm a Sporting fan. Sorry. Did you get sorry? Hey, rivalry, competition, same city. It's right. It's all good.
Big time. Okay, that's cool. Now this is this question. I think I'm gonna have to get you to. But anyway, the question is: a documentary is being made about your life as a DJ, right? What's the opening scene? Where are we? And what music is playing? Yeah. So a documentary is being made about your life as a DJ. What's the opening scene? Where are we? And
wait,
what
so this is the
music
question
playing?
that you guys are going to
I'm
answer,
not a DJ.
Right?
Yeah, that's like the one you should have got, right?
Adel,
I can make something up, but I'm not a DJ. Yeah.
Okay, let's have everybody answer, and I'll answer it as well.
Fair enough. I'll take the hit first, and I'll answer it. So let's start from the song. Grey Sèvres Rendezvous, for sure.
Okay.
No doubt. Beautiful song. It's one of my favorites.
All right.
That would be the song that's playing. Opening scene, I would say I'm actually dancing as opposed to DJing. And hopefully with the missus on the stage, just with everyone around, everyone's just chilling, having fun. That to me is just the representation of Kizomba, the connection. Everyone's vibing. It's all absolutely amazing. And preferably on the beach, sunset.
Okay. All right.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Do you want to go next? Oh, you know what? I'll go next and we'll close out with our guest answer. All right. So I think for this one, I would be asleep. All right. I'll be asleep somewhere on a beach. Right. And then I wake up and then I look around and I see there's all these people on the beach. They're just there, just standing around. And then the music kicks in. And then it's like you're actually waking up now. And then everybody's just dancing and dancing and dancing. And then the sun's rising. And I'm just in the middle of all these people. And then this beautiful lady comes over to me, happens to be my wife, asks me to dance. And then we're dancing in the center. And everybody's around us, just dancing. So I should have said it started off in black and white, then it went to color, and then everybody's just dancing and it's just vibing. And then I think the song is Splash. It's Oule, Oule.
Yeah,
that song.
yeah,
I can't sing it, but that song there. So
okay.
Yeah, that's me.
All right. Okay. So for me, opening scene, it would have to be focused on people dancing. I may be playing, but people are dancing. I mean, that's what I'm supposed to be doing over there, make people dance. So it has to be that scene. It has to be people enjoying themselves. Location doesn't matter where, as long as they're dancing. Of course, I have a preference for the beach, but it could be a backyard, because we have a lot of backyard parties back home. People enjoying themselves, dancing, drinking, eating food, because I think that's the best way to enjoy the music and be relaxed, not all uptight and tuxedos or whatever it is, or suits and stuff, but relaxed. Because I think that's also a way that I approach life. Don't get me wrong, I like to wear a suit, but I think that's I think people mostly enjoy themselves when they're relaxed and having fun amongst friends and family. Again, could be backyard, could be a beach, could be a club, could be anywhere. But in this case, I guess backyard would be more appropriate, or the beach, because people are eating and drinking. As far as what is playing, I don't know. And I have 30 seconds to mix this song in again.
What? The DJ doesn't know what song is playing.
Let me see. Probably a Levy T song. One of the fast-paced Levy T songs, because it also represents so much joy and rhythm, and I think that would be appropriate. And also, I guess, sunrise, because that means that people have been dancing all night.
Yeah, absolutely. No, so beautiful answers. We all got there, man. But I just wish you had that question so I didn't have to answer it. But anyway, it's all good. It's all good. But listen, DJ Guelas, we just want to say, myself and Adel want to say thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We have had a blast. It's been very, very insightful, very knowledgeable. We hope to get you back again at some point soon to share some more around this DJ world and everything that you do. So, yeah, thank you very much. People, make sure you check out DJ Guelas on his socials, wherever he is. Check him out, check out the mixes, and obviously follow him if you want to go to some of the festivals that he's at. And I also want to say thank you to Adel for co-hosting with me today. It's been a joy, my friend. Thank you very much, sir. And we will see you on another episode coming very, very soon. So like I always say, keep dancing. Peace.
Peace.